Hello, class. I hope all of you had a great Memorial Day weekend and were able to enjoy a nice family barbecue. Last time we spoke was Thursday, and we finished up talking about the Kingdom of England, so we're going to start talking about the Kingdom of France today. For homework tonight, you have Chapter 11, Section 2B worksheet. All right, so please make sure you get that complete and back to me by Thursday, 3 p.m. All right, tomorrow's your activity day, so you have plenty of time to get that worksheet done. If you're missing any other assignments, please check your gradebook in Schoology and see if there's any missing assignments. And be sure to send them to me by sometime this week. All right, this Friday you'll get your end of the year project. All right, so we'll talk about that later this week. If you can please take out your notes, let us pick up where we left off last Thursday. So the Kingdom of France goes back to around the year 843, and if you remember, the Treaty of Verdun officially split Charlemagne's empire into three parts, and the western part of Charlemagne's empire will eventually become the Kingdom of France. And for a long time, that part was ruled by King Charles the Bald, if you can remember. He was the grandson to Charlemagne. And eventually, as time went on, Frankish nobles no longer remained loyal to the king, and they formed their own small territories and kingdoms within France. Eventually, they wanted to remove Charlemagne's family from power, and they choose a new king, and that was a man named Hugh Capet. All right, to be the first king, and he starts the Capetian dynasty that controls France, and he really only had control of territory around Paris. While Hugh Capet was king, he never really had total authority. As I was saying before, the nobles grew fiercely independent during the time of Charlemagne's grandson, King Charles the Bald's time as king. But eventually, these Capetian kings will try to take control over more and more territory in France. And the first king in France to really gain the loyalty of all the nobles and also control of more territory was King Philip II. Okay, and for hundreds of years now, pretty much since the year 987, nobles had more power than kings. Kings were more of just like a figurehead. They really didn't have much authority, but they just had the title. And Philip II is going to ask the nobles, all right, to basically swear loyal to him and wage war against England with the hope of increasing the size of the Kingdom of France, because by the time Philip II comes to power, a lot of English kings have taken land in France and claimed it as theirs. So Philip II is going to make kings more powerful. He wages war with England, and the Capetian monarchy will eventually grow to the size that you see here. Paris was the capital. Okay, you can see some territories held by England here, which is part of France today. Bordeaux was part of England. All right, this area here, that's basically where Normandy is. Actually, Normandy is a little east of there. All right, but all of these two territories are controlled. These two territories are controlled by England that France wants to take back. All right, a couple seconds on this slide. You can always pause the video or go back if you miss any notes. So Philip II, as I said, he's going to wage war with England, and that was his main goal as king. All right, his main goal was to take land in France from the English kingdom. And you can see Mr. Brennan's 6th grade Halloween costume for the dance was King Philip II. Looks something like in the bottom right-hand corner. All right, he even wore the wig that you see, the wig that resembled the king's hair. And eventually, Philip II is able to take control over Normandy, which was William the Conqueror's kingdom that he brought under English control. And he took control of Normandy during King John's rule. If you remember, King John was the one who was forced to sign the Magna Carta in 1215. All right, and this was a major, major loss for England, all right, because there was so much history in Normandy, and that's where the first Norman king was from. And over the course of Philip II's rule, he is going to triple the size of the French borders. And in order to help him govern this large kingdom and to put nobles in a position of power, he created new administrative offices, such as the Royal Treasury, which dealt with tax collection, and the Royal Council, which was pretty much an advisory board for King Philip II to work on. There were knights on that council that helped advise him on war strategies. There was other French nobles that helped advise him on other matters going on within the Kingdom of France. If you're missing anything on this slide, you can always pause it, go back, but I'll wait a couple seconds. Alright, be sure to let Mr. Brennan know today that you saw his 6th grade Halloween costume. Alright, just don't make fun of him for it. He takes it personally. So on the next slide, picture. So this is a picture of the conquest of King Philip II, and the land under French rule was basically in green in 1180, and by the time, and then there's some French royal territories. Those are territories that have where the king has total control. Ex-celestial lordships are basically territories for the church. And then Angevin rule is basically English rule. So by 1223, Philip II is able to take control over most of the land that was England's, right, in 1180, except for here in the bottom left of the picture. So the Kingdom of France during the Middle Ages was broken up into 3 estates, they called it. States were basically just a way of saying classes. And the first estate or class in French society was the clergy. For a long time, France had a strong loyalty to the church that goes back to the days of Charlemagne's empire. So the clergy was always held into that first estate, the highest estate, all right, were clergy members, priests, bishops, cardinals. Okay. The second estate was lords, all right, anyone that was considered a lord, knight, vassal, so there's lesser lords, more powerful lords, kings were above pretty much all 3 of these estates. Right, they made up the second estate, and the third estate, which was the most, which held the most amount of people, was the commoners. And you should know what each state represents. Eventually, these states have changed as the Middle Ages went on. But in 1302, King Philip IV, a descendant of Philip II, started to tax local priests. All right, he started to tax people of the first estate. And the Pope is going to refuse to allow the king to tax these people. So he meets with representatives from each estate. So King Philip IV, all right, he wants to meet with representatives from each estate to gain support against the Pope. So he's looking to stand up to the church and tell them he's going to tax them. And this meeting became known as the Estates General. And the Estates General will go on to be the representative legislative government in France. It still exists today. And the Estates General helped increase, when it was first created, the royal power, so the king's power against nobility. And eventually, the Estates General, which was made up of, at first, only the second and first estate, they added the third estate, will grow on, become a very powerful representative part of the French government. It is the part of the government that was very influential during the French Revolution, and even still to this day is a big part of French government. Okay, so the States General was originally set up by King Philip IV. That's what you should really know from this slide. And this is the last slide for today, so if you're missing anything, you can always go back and watch the video. We'll conference again on Thursday. Again, please make sure to get your Chapter 11, Section 2B worksheet back to me. And I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your activity day tomorrow. And we'll start Section 3 on Thursday Roman Conference. Thank you. Have a good day.